Well, let's explore the company voluntary arrangements, and given that New Look agreed a CVA in March of this year, let's start with yourself, Mr. Collyer. Why did you agree a CVA, and at that point, how close was the company in terms of going into administration?
Okay. So, I mean, let's be really clear, you know, it was an incredibly difficult decision. It wasn't a decision that New Look took lightly. And, you know, the simple fact is, you know, New Look would have run out of money. So we needed to ensure that we gave ourselves the time. We got the financial and operational stability. And the CVA, you know, was a process which enabled us to address, you know, the fixed cost base of the business. We were over-rented. You know, our rent bill was, you know, reduced by £35 million per year. So, you know, we needed to make sure we tackled what you've heard is an incredibly challenging high street and environment that we're currently in.
Okay, I'll take on board what you just said about over-rented store estate, and that's exactly what your executive chairman said, yep. I believe, in the Retail Gazette in March 2018. Mm-hmm. And he also actually intimated within the Financial Times article in June 2018 that too much stock was aimed at, and I quote, at the wrong customers. Don't those remarks simply reveal that the CVA was in fact a way for New Look to improve on a bad business model?
So, you know, we are in the middle of a turnaround plan. You know, the environment that we're in is incredibly challenging. We've said already that, you know, the top line revenue is challenged from consumer sentiment, from footfall. We've seen what's happened to the depreciation of sterling and what that means to material costs that we face. And yes, we took some missteps within the strategy. We did go to a younger and edgier part of the market, and we needed to address that. You know, we are taking that as part of the overall turnaround. The CVA is just one part of a bigger programme to address. You know, first thing we've got to do is address the cost base. That's what the CVA gave us the ability to do from a rent. But it's 35 billion. We've publicly announced that we're looking at over 70 million of cost savings. It's the one thing I can do with absolute certainty in terms of how do we save the costs. It takes a bit longer to get, you know, the product ranges back online to make sure that that's performing, and it's part of that overall difficult process that we had to do, but to make sure we had the financial and operational stability to protect 15,000 jobs across the UK.
I appreciate what you've just said in terms of you know, that your company was apparently going to be running out of money, but sure. you do appreciate that. In terms of the select committee, our job is to look on behalf of everybody, including landlords. And your very own landlord, Frogmore, is quoted as saying that dealing with New Look had been distressing, and that rather than accept a reduction from 200,000 to 120,000 a year, Frogmore decided to take back the lease and re-let the unit to Iceland at that current level of 200,000. And when you found out that you made a counter bid of £210,000 a year for that same lease, that's not exactly a situation where you're running out of money.
So, I mean, I disagree with the facts. You know, we're not going to get into tit for tat over it. But what happens in any negotiation, we ask why were we being kicked out, because it may be the landlord has to offer up rent-free or capital contributions. As part of inquiring as to why the store was being taken back, we did not choose to go out of it. We discovered that the rent was going up, and that was taken back as part of the whole process to Invesco, and the board did not approve the rent increase.
Okay, well, I'm merely quoting the article in the Times in June of this year.
Facts,
but you know, as a question to all of your good selves, why do you think landlords are complaining so bitterly about CVAs, including, you know, obviously New Looks, but just more generally? Mr. Foster?
I guess to some extent, nobody likes the fact that they've invested in a property, it's achieving a rental level that they feel is a financial return on that property value, and then suddenly a retailer can no longer afford to sustain that level of rent. So nobody will like the fact that you go back to that landlord and say, look, I can't afford that level of rent, we need to do something about it, and a CDA is one means of larger retail groups have been able to restructure.
Yeah, and that's exactly what the British Property Federation, Revo and the Hart Group and others have reported to the committee. Mr. Ginty, what do you think?
I would agree with the same point that Martin has made. I mean, we don't use CVA, so I've got no personal knowledge and contact to sort of add that. But clearly it is one tool and one mechanism in relation to actually sort of dealing with a difficult situation in terms of the performance of an individual store.
So you would never use a CVA?
We've not used CVAs at all.
And what about yourself, Mr. Foster?
I've not used CVA, but we have closed stores. And we've used administration processes in previous retail businesses I've been involved in to achieve that. If you're locked into, for a start, retailers hate closing stores. It's the last thing we ever want to do. But if you're locked into a lease that is creating losses within a number of stores, and that's putting at risk the bulk, then you need to do something to restructure. And because of the way that leases are financial instruments, there's only really a couple of ways that you can sort it out. Either you do a CVA, you do an administration, or you go to the landlord with a pot of cash and try to buy yourself out of the lease. And in reality, if you're making losses, you probably can't do the latter.